Just before 7 o'clock this morning, a Topeka Police Department officer in full uniform and in a marked police vehicle initiated a suspicious vehicle in the 2000 block of South investigation. Orders, resisted arrest, and produced a handgun. A struggle over the gun ensued between the officer and the suspect. The officer, acting in self-defense and in fear for their life, in this encounter. The suspect, who is male, was pronounced deceased at the scene by A&R. They will not be identified until next of kin notification has been made. The Kansas Bureau of Investigation was notified. The KBI is lead on the criminal investigation from this point forward and will conduct their independent review of the officer's actions. Once the case is completed, the involved officer, per procedure and protocol, has been placed on paid administrative leave. Stolen vehicle and was confronted with a non-compliant armed suspect. This incident is both a community tragedy and a demonstration of the
officers are now on administrative leave after this shooting this morning?
The shooting this morning only involves one officer, so we have one on administrative leave. We do have one officer who's still on administrative leave from the prior incidents. Two total, one from this incident.
Take back on the streets, or will they?
The process is very
Get
specific. There is some training phases that go through that are part of that normal procedure.
The incident involved the person who shot, correct?
No, I didn't make any comment about the number of shots. One suspect, one officer.
Did the suspect fire?
That's an investigative detail that we'll let the KBI sort out. I don't have that preliminary information.
Chief, unfortunate situation this year. Any thoughts on that tonight? I mean, you can't just plan them out, I'm sure, as far as what happened, but any thoughts on, it's just a tough situation for everybody?
Yeah, I think that's right. I meant what I said when I think this is both a community tragedy and it's a demonstration of the bravery and the uncertain world that we're in. I don't think it does any justification whatsoever to lump all these together. I think each one of these community tragedies, for all the involved parties, deserves the weight of individuality. There's a number of independent steps on this one, as all the other ones that will be gone through, to let the community know how these processes work out. But the conclusions that we draw, I mean, is certainly anytime we have any community tragedies, we wish we didn't, and that's certainly the case here today as well.
What training do officers receive when posed with this scenario?
Officers receive, I guess your question is use of force training. Obviously there's a great deal of use of force training that goes to when an officer is confronted with a non-compliant subject that has with handguns. I can only say that there is training. I don't know if you're looking for a number of hours or what you're talking about, but I can confirm there is a training that goes on quite frequently, annually, part of certifications, and encompasses use of force across a lot of spectrums.
What would that training look like?
It's both. All of the training that we have in the area of use of force is both classroom, practical exercises, and then there's equipment certifications with the various levels of use of force equipment that we have as well. So that's a pretty good general overview of the use of force.
The KBI is investigating this case investigating the use of force in the incidents that occurred November 29th at 6th and Kansas. Pardon me, at 6th and September 29th at 6th and Kansas, and October 5th in the area of 45th and Adams. Are those still under investigation?
I believe that you could refer that question to the KBI specifically, but I believe there was at least a public statement that said both of those cases had been taken to the district attorney's office for review. But
Okay.
I also know from my experience that some investigations are ongoing even through the district attorney review process as new information comes to light. I would go to the KBI for specific details.
Chief, real quick question. I noticed that they were about halfway down that block, and that's a dead-end alley. Do we know? Maybe it looked like the vehicle was facing back this way. Possibly got here kind of early. No telling exactly.
As part of the initial statement that I gave, the officer's initial contact was because the vehicle was blocking the alley. That led to the identification that it was in fact a stolen vehicle, which led to the contact of the occupant in the car. So we can confirm at this point that it did take place in the alleyway, and it was specifically related to where it's at blocking the alley.
Did he block this alley entrance right here, or was it further back, or can you say?
That's a specific detail that you would have to ask, but it was initially about blocking the alleyway is what drew the officer's attention.
How do officers determine when to take a fatal shot like this?
Training, experience, and situational details. I mean, obviously, in this specific case, the officer felt like his life was in danger and he had no choice but to defend himself with a combative, resistive, armed criminal.
The officer was male.
Yes, the officer was one.
Alrighty, we'll wrap this up for today. Thank you all.